Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dad and Me. I am your co-host Kaylee Gray with my dad, Pastor Brad.
Hello.
And we are so excited. This is like the love month. And so I thought it'd be so fun to get like relationship advice from dad because it's something I get. And so today's
But you are still single, so evidently it's not working.
Hey, that is probably for other reasons. But anyways, that is so funny. Way to put me on blast, Dad. Thank you. Today's episode is called Daddy Set the Bar Real High. And I think a lot of times in relationships, people will look to their dad and kind of compare the relationship that they're in to their dad. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I marry my father, someone who is like my father, or, things like that, which it's so funny. Like now when I like look at characteristics of guys, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're exactly like my dad. Like a few of the guys I've dated recently, there's like characteristics I see and it's like you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like wanting to marry somebody like my dad, which is like so funny because I never would have thought that, but it's like this like underlying comparison that's there. And something too that I think I've had to realize is like who you are now and like who I compare guys to. Like you weren't like that years ago.
No. No, not that way. Nope.
So
You may find this hard to believe, but I'm not the easiest person to live with all the time.
no, and I'm sure Mom could agree with that.
Yep.
So no, that's so funny. So, but I think that is like a thing that I've had to come to realize, like, not to like just date potential, but also to like know that like who they are now is probably not who they're going to be. Like they can grow. They can.
Yeah, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If you're going to go together, you need to grow together.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You need to find somebody that's willing to grow and change and not be, this is it. Take it or leave it. You got to have somebody that's going to try to grow.
I've actually ended a relationship because of that before. And I think growth is so important. And I think that's a red flag. Like if somebody's not willing to grow, and not only like in the relationship, but in like other areas of their life, that is a huge red flag. Yeah. Even though this podcast isn't about, red flags, but
I think probably not best to change for somebody, but you got to be willing to change with somebody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people try to change who they are to get what they want, but then they can't maintain that, in their life because that's not really who they are.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you're willing to grow with somebody and change with them, because every relationship evolves to some sort of degree.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the better.
No, that's really good. Yeah. That's great. Mm-hmm. I know for me years ago, I was really struggling with being single, and usually like when I go for relationship advice, it's not always to my dad just because, he's not the most sentimental, emotional person. Like he's usually the guy that I go to for other things. And out of the blue, you had sent me an email, which was like so funny. Like I like opened up my email and it was...
See, I don't remember this at all.
This was a while ago, but this like, it literally impacted me to the point like where I've like written it down. Yeah, it was just a sweet email. I was feeling discouraged and everything. And it was words to a single from an old married man. And it was 1, find God. 2, find God's will for your life. 3, then find your mate. And you said, find someone who is willing to go on the same path that you walk so that they won't take you in the wrong direction. Don't just settle and risk your ability to soar. Expect more. It worked for me, and it will work for you.
Oh, I think I got that off a song somewhere.
You think so?
No, I don't know.
But anyways,
hard to say.
It was so true because I think, like if you are single or you're not in a relationship, like you really do like your relationship with God and then with you, like figuring out who you are is really important to help you in that next stage of life.
Because if you're not happy with you, you'll never be happy with somebody else. I mean, it just don't work that way. You got to find your own, peace in your own heart and be comfortable in your own skin, and if not, you're not ready for a relationship with somebody else, until you get that fixed.
That's true. Yeah, you have to definitely.
It'll be a mess later on.
we don't want to miss.
No messes. No.
So what advice do you have for us today for relationship advice from dear old dad?
Oh, there's a lot of things that I've went through in life. And, being a pastor, sometimes you preach on relationships a little bit. Sometimes, in a relationship, it's not about what you give, but it's what you're willing to give up sometimes.
Okay.
I've watched some people that, they're not willing to give up their singleness in order to become one with somebody else.
Yeah.
They want to hold on to both worlds. And,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't have other friends and old friends and things like that, but, when you're married, it's a different way of looking at things. Or if you're in a relationship with somebody, you want to make sure you are are there for that and ever present, not just, it's something to fall back on.
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes people make a mistake in. They like the comfortability of having somebody in their life, but that's just all it is. It's a comfort thing. It's not something they want to grow and, become stronger.
Yeah.
And
No.
that's important.
That is really important. And I think when you were saying that, I was like thinking about convenience too. I think so many people they want the relationship, but they just want it when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes relationships aren't convenient of the growth that needs to take place in both of you.
Yeah. Relationships reveal selfishness
Yeah.
in our life because whether we want to accept it or not, we're all kind of selfish in a lot of ways. And, when you're single, it don't come out so much. But when you're with somebody else and it happens, I mean, you just kind of show your true colors sometimes. And,
Yeah.
once you get past that engagement phase or everybody's being nice, and find out who you really are, that's, one word of wisdom. One of my old pastors when I was in Denver, he was teaching on, dating and marriage. That was one of the classes. And, one thing he said was that don't just, gauge somebody by how they treat you, but watch how they treat other people because that's who they really are.
That's really good.
If they're kind of snobby or mean to other people or condescending, that's who they really are. They're just treating you nice now till they get what they want. But that's their, factory setting right there.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of factor that in when you're watching somebody and checking them out. You got to check. It's important. Marriage is a very important decision. I mean, you could, lose half your stuff just real quick, and a lot of people have done that, even more than half.
Yeah.
Not to mention the emotional baggage and, working with young people in the church, just seeing how some of them, view, especially their dads, who kind of bailed on them. I mean, it's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely injured.
They definitely. And, if you did have a bad relationship with your dad, we've talked about this in other podcasts, but just how, you try to find that love and affection from someone else. And when they do just give it to you, you almost just cling to that and just go to that. You're not really checking out all of the other stuff. You're just looking for that one quality of love and being taken care of. But it is true. That's something you have taught me. And I definitely, look at how, when I'm on a date, how do they treat the waiter? Are they rude to them? Or are they being kind? How they treat their mom. That is really big because I'm well, how he treats his mom is probably how he's going to be treating me someday. Yeah. And so I think that's really important advice.
Yep. Amen. Yeah. That's why I gave it. No, just kidding. But anyway, so that's just a couple things. And then, relationships take time. They're an investment. You got to really put in. It's, I heard something said one time, it's about truth, trust, and they're developed over time. They're not immediate all the time. And some of the best relationships that we end up with are ones that with people that we've been there for them over the times. And then they've been there for us. And, you may not have that connection, every day, but you just know that if you needed something, they're there.
That's really good.
That's good to have somebody in your corner like that. That just a phone call and they're there.
Yeah, no, that's super important. Yeah. What do you think about physical connection and things like that?
I have an opinion.
Okay, well, let us know what it is.
The sad thing about our culture is that, we substitute that physical connection so fast that it's really a false positive, shall we say, in some ways about a relationship because, people go by the feel and by the touch, and maybe some of them get sexually involved with each other the first thing, and then they have really nothing in common. But the sad thing is that physical connection will hold the relationship together for a while, but it can't hold it together forever.
Yeah.
And that's when things really unravel and, because you don't really know the person. I mean, just because, you enjoy, the physical part of the relationship doesn't mean, they can carry on an intelligent conversation with you and have the same interests that you have.
Yeah.
So you got to look at the whole picture of these things. And, that is an unfortunate thing of our culture. That's what happens. And that's why, we have so many, issues, going on in our culture when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's rough.
It is.
And the kids are usually some of the things that happen. I've always said, you don't have to be a man to make a baby, but it takes a man to raise a baby. You know what I mean? And a lot of men are bailing out and not fulfilling their role or the duty that they're supposed to do is to be the protector, provider for the home.
Yeah. Because what is that quote you said about 50-50?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people, when I do marriage counseling, almost all, but not all, but most of them say, well, I believe it's 50-50. And I says, well, how about your future wife isn't feeling 50% right now? Maybe she's only good for 20%. What are you going to do? Because 50 plus 20 is only 70.
Yeah.
You have to be 100, 100, meaning you each are willing to give 100% to the relationship, meaning that if your spouse or the person you're in a relationship with, if they're not there, you have to be willing to go the whole mile yourself. And that may be the thing that will hold that together and to save that relationship.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to weigh that cost. It's a heavy burden sometimes to want to be in a relationship. It's easy, being single is hard, but, being in a bad relationship's harder. So you want to, make sure you're in a situation that you're willing to go and do everything if you have to.
Yeah.
Just to try to do it. Now, there may come a time that if the other person doesn't respond, that's something maybe have to give, but for the most part, it's not, we give up too early many times on the relationships that we have. Yeah.
No, that's so true. And I think about some of the advice that you gave me when I was talking to somebody. He, he wasn't involved in a church, which that's like really important to me about like having a church community, his relationship with God. And he wasn't going to church, but he was talking and telling me that he wanted to, like he wanted all of these things. He kind of like the show, the Blue Bloods, like the Reagans, where they all sit around Sunday afternoon and have like, lunch together. He like wanted that and, just was talking like all the time. Like later found out he was such a big talker. But something you had told me is you were like, Kaylee, are you willing to go to church alone someday? And I literally was just like, well, he said he was going to go to church. And like, if he's not doing it now, why is he going to be doing it later? Like he would just be doing it for me. And more than likely, he's not going to continue to do that later. And so their fruit is so important. And I think that's so important. Like when you're in a relationship is looking at what fruit are they producing now and like what patterns are they doing now? Yeah. Because what they're doing now is more than likely what they're going to be doing in the future.
I'm not saying they can't change, but for the most part, it's a dicey decision to make to, go into a relationship with that somebody, kind of like you're holding a carrot with a stick out in front of them. And, hopefully they'll go for the carrot. But if they're not doing the right thing now, the odds are you can't really count on that. So you have to be willing to go it yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes and things like that. And, finding a good church and finding somebody you can go to church with and build a spiritual life and a spiritual home together, that's the best life there is. It doesn't really get any better than that because, me and my wife, technically we're opposites in a lot of things, but we're not opposite when it comes to God. And that's the thing that can really hold us together. So no matter what the world brings against us, no matter what kind of issue or irritation, that happens, because we're so different from each other. And men and women are already different to begin with, but me and my wife take it to the next level, because we're opposites in a lot of ways. But one thing, having God in our life and knowing that there's that stability, circumstances are always going to change, but God never changes.
Yeah.
Jesus says he's the same today, yesterday, and forever. And so we can, always count on that stability. And I think that stability is really what every relationship and every person needs in our life. We need something like an anchor, something to keep us, steady, when the storms of life come our way, because storms are coming. They do come. We're not exempt from problems or things that happen. And, I thank God for, the godly woman, that God brought into my life. We've built a good life together and built a church and done a lot of good things together. We've not done it all right all the time, but, I'd like to think we hit it more than we missed, in a lot of ways. And we've learned a lot over the years, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so good. I think just with you saying that, it's so important with like finding that person. And that's why I think it's not hard for me, but like I see the strong home life that you and mom had, and like that's something like I want. And so that's why, I don't feel like I'm settling, because I know like that I can have that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know for sure I could have been married by now, but I knew that it wasn't God's like best for my life. And so I think just the different characteristics and stuff that I'm looking for somebody, I don't feel like I have too high of standards, but I feel like it's like God literally has somebody for me, and I know he does. I have full faith in that. And I know that he's going to bring me the relationship, the godly relationship that I want.
Amen.
And so, yeah.
Praise God.
Yeah. What else do you have for us? Do you have any other?
Well, I don't know how much time we got. No, I don't have to. No, I'm, I think we've covered quite a few things already. But one thing that happens in relationships sometimes, if you get irritated or you're around somebody, sometimes the things that really impressed you when you were engaged can all of a sudden can be an irritation after you're married after several years.
Are you talking from experience?
Oh, probably. I've read that. I was telling about a friend. A friend told me this.
Told your friend.
But,
okay.
You can really do kindness. Kindness, you've always seen the saying, kindness doesn't cost us anything. If you can try to be kind with your words, one thing that I've had to work on, it's not what I say is wrong, it's my tone. And I don't mean nothing by the tone, but sometimes, my tone maybe wasn't exactly what my wife wanted to hear.
Yeah.
But I've worked 2 jobs, pastor, and then have a self-employed contracting business as an electrician and things. So sometimes I could get wired tight, from doing everything. And so I didn't have a lot. It wouldn't have taken me more time to have some kindness, but sometimes I just maybe would just give a decision, boom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't maybe in the right tone or wasn't kind enough. And it definitely didn't get the desired result, But hey, learn as you go, right? As long as you're still learning.
And that's the thing, like being willing to grow, and I think willing to apologize and no, that's really good. Have you noticed, like in your life, like pursuing your wife, like have you pursued her differently from when you were dating to like being married?
What do you mean by pursuing her?
Like, I don't know, like
most guys, once you get married, that's it.
That's it?
That's it. That's over.
So you don't have to...
On to the next thing.
On to the next
thing. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, it's different. When you're just dating, you're both insecure. You're both don't really know everything about it. You maybe have these Hallmark ideas or Walmart ideas, I call them. But anyway, and then working some of that stuff out in the real world, where there's real emotions and everything involved. Yeah, it's a little different, One thing I noticed as we get older, like she used to get mad at me and she could be mad for several days. Now it's just like 10 minutes. And all of a sudden she's back. And I go, here I irritated her and now she's just nothing to it, So I've had to adapt to this new kind of thing where she doesn't hold a grudge anymore at me. So maybe we prayed through for breakthrough. I don't know what the deal is.
That's funny.
So, but I can be kind of irritating from time to time. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I feel like that's everybody has like a
yeah.
little thing, but I think through the irritation where you can still love them and not give up.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah. It's not a, kick him to the curb deal,
no.
that's not it. So,
Well, and I think so many times in relationships, like you do give up. You know what I mean? Like once it
it's
gets
so
hard.
easy. I mean, you see everybody else giving up on TV. You see people giving up all around you, and especially if you've given up once, so easy to give up again,
Yeah.
because I survived that last thing, so I can survive this. So they give up, and, we take that baggage with us into the next relationship unless we get healed. And that's the thing we need to understand is, we're not all perfect. We all got some issues in our life. For whatever reason, most of us don't look at things totally 100% correctly. There's a lot of misunderstandings by what we see and what the real situation is
Yeah.
because we have maybe been influenced by past pain or something going on in our life. So we misinterpret things and then we operate or act on that misinterpretation and then it makes it worse.
Yeah.
So that's why, we need to, understand communication, is the best cure for a misunderstanding, is to try to talk about it and try to understand it
Yeah.
and see, what's really what,
Yeah.
and that makes a lot of difference and going a long way. And, just ask God to, heal us. The Bible says, create in me a clean heart, O God. I mean, David said that, and David had made some mistakes along the way. We act like we all have,
Yeah.
but we can either let them mistakes, define us, or we can let those mistakes kind of refine us and notice that we've learned from those things.
Yeah.
And then we can hopefully the next time respond a little better,
No, that's really
act
good.
a little better on it. Yeah.
Man, yeah, this is such great advice, great relationship advice. And I know like the month of February, everybody like always talks about,
Yeah.
Relationship advice and love advice and, everything. And I feel like so many times, like when you're single, like either like all the sermons are just targeted at you of like what you need to do, or if you're
Yeah.
dating or married, and stuff like that. And so I think it's like a time to kind of like reevaluate and like do like a self check. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what am I bringing into this relationship? Or like, what can I do to better myself for my future relationship?
Yeah. Especially if you've been in a situation where some relationships have been destroyed and you need to find out if maybe it's something I'm doing that's bringing self-destruction to the relationships. Some people are scared of getting maybe too close or maybe giving up some of their individuality and things like that. And so that's something to kind of evaluate and just see there's been some hurt in your life that needs to be processed and kind of dealt with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
No, that's really good. Well, do you have any other advice for us, or are you all tapped out?
I'm getting about tapped out here. I mean, relationships really they exhaust me. You know that, don't you? Sometimes.
Yeah, so as you can know, this is big for
Yeah, I'm going to have to go take a nap after this. This
Yeah.
is going to be big for me. Yeah.
Yeah, if we want to talk about it. No, this was so good. And hopefully this encouraged you to, just with relationships, no matter what maybe stage of life you're in, whether you're single, dating, married, just kind of gives you a little bit of advice. We kind of wanted to target all
Yeah.
of the different areas because I think even when you're single, you can learn stuff that will help you prepare for
Right.
your future.
You can
So-
learn some things from some married couples, and what not to do. A lot of times, I could have wrote a book on what not to do with the first 4 or 5 years of marriage,
Yeah.
and would have been a bestseller probably. At least I think it would have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, you pick up some things as you go along. And just don't give up. Try to fight for them the best you can. I know there's reasons why relationships need to split up, and there's biblical principles that talks about those. But for the most part, just because they irritate you, that's not really a a good one. You know?
Yeah.
Try to work through some of that stuff and find common ground.
Yeah.
That is important.
No, that's good. No, and I'll say you've definitely set the bar real high for me for relationships, and so
For 5'8", I've really done really well. Huh? No, not that.
Yeah, no.
Not that good.
Spiritually, but you also you're the person I can go to talk about anything, or you've helped me financially become financially stable. You can pretty much fix anything, I feel like, and so you've just set the bar high in that regard. And so I've had to really watch in my relationships not to compare guys to you.
Believe me, you wouldn't want somebody like me. I just, excuse me, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, a few of your characteristics wouldn't be too bad. So, no, that's so
But for the most part, no.
No. I love that you can be honest and truth about it.
Hey.
That's good. So, I love it.
Our 3 listeners aren't going to rat me out, are they?
No, stop it. Cracking me up. Oh, my gosh. Well, with that...
there's my sister's sister and then her mom and then... No.
Stop it. Well... if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and follow us along. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can also watch us on YouTube. So, and I can confirm we have more than 3 listeners.
Okay,
so
I don't do the data.
I do all of that. But anyways, I love it. Thank you, Dad, for
Thank you.
for setting the bar high, but also just giving us some relationship advice in the love month. And so be sure that you are back for the first Wednesday of every month, because we have new episodes that drop. And thanks for tuning in to Dad and Me.
All right. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.